There is a silent, compounding tax that most of us in our 30s and 40s are paying every single day. It is an invisible tariff on our potential, and the worst part is, we don't even realize it's being systematically deducted from our account. You know exactly what this tax feels like. You are currently in what should be the peak earning and building years of your life. You can see the version of yourself who has it figured out, the one with a diversified, automated investment portfolio, a pristine calendar, a calm household, and the career freedom to walk away from work that doesn't fulfill you. You can see that 5 to 10-year plan so clearly. It's practical, it's necessary, and it's entirely possible. And then, reality hits. The alarm goes off, the market opens, the inbox floods, the kids wake up, and you instantly default to autopilot. The investment spreadsheet stays unopened on your desktop. The high-yield savings account remains uncreated. The career pivot or side business gets pushed to next quarter, when things settle down. But let's be completely honest with ourselves. In your 30s and 40s, life never actually settles down. You are managing careers, marriages, kids, aging parents, and mortgages. What if the gap between the wealth you want and the inaction you're settling for isn't a structural flaw in your character? What if it isn't because you are lazy, or because you don't want it badly enough? What if it is simply a biological glitch, an outdated evolutionary program running on modern hardware, that is costing you thousands of dollars in lost opportunities and years of personal freedom every single month? The truth is, you don't have a willpower problem. You are falling victim to a psychological phenomenon known as present bias, and your brain is managing your life like a terrible fund manager. The dual control portfolio inside your skull. To understand why we constantly sabotage our own progress, we have to look at the brain through the lens of asset management. Inside your skull, you have two radically different, competing systems fighting for executive control over your life. First, you have the chief executive officer, the prefrontal cortex. This is the highly evolved, rational, distinctly human part of your brain. It understands compounding interest. It loves long-term planning, career strategy, asset allocation, and health metrics. The chief executive knows that temporary discomfort today yields exponential freedom tomorrow. It is the part of you that sets the goals on Sunday night. Second, you have the day trader, the limbic system. Led by a tiny structure called the amygdala, this system is ancient, reactive, and highly emotional. The day trader does not care about your 10-year financial independence goals. It doesn't care about your retirement, your net worth, or the person you want to become. It cares about survival, safety, and immediate gratification right now. It wants what is familiar, proven, comfortable, and easy. Here is what happens when you decide to finally sit down on a Saturday morning to audit your family's monthly budget, research index funds, or write that business proposal. Your chief executive is in charge when you open your laptop. But the second you start looking at the numbers or staring at the blank page, a wave of subtle emotional discomfort hits you. It might feel like anxiety, boredom, inadequacy, or simple dread. Instantly, the day trader panics. It views that tiny wave of emotional discomfort as an existential threat. To save you from this discomfort, it demands a quick hit of dopamine to bring you back to safety. It screams, "Abandoned ship. Close the tab. Let's check our stock portfolio's daily movement instead. Let's order something on Amazon. We'll do the hard work on Monday when we have more energy." And because the day trader has millions of years of evolutionary head start, its neural pathways are faster. It vetoes the chief executive almost every single time. Procrastination is an emotional debt for decades. Society has told us that procrastination is a time management issue. We buy planners, download productivity apps, and try to organize our way out of inaction. But Dr. Timothy Pitchell, a psychologist who spent over 20 years researching this exact behavior, proved that procrastination is actually an emotional regulation problem, not a time management problem. You do not avoid planning your estate, starting your investment portfolio, or going to the gym because you are bad at scheduling or because you have a broken work ethic. You avoid those tasks because doing them makes you feel bad in the short term. Your lower brain is wired to avoid negative emotions at all costs. Your motivation to take action on any long-term goal is severely diluted by two main variables: impulsiveness and delay. When the payoff of your action is far in the future, like building a retirement fund or changing careers over the next 2 years, the delay is incredibly high. Because the delay is high, your perceived value of that reward right now drops. At the same time, if you are stressed, tired, and overstimulated, your impulsiveness is sky high. When you divide your long-term goals by a massive delay and a high rate of impulsiveness, your motivation mathematically drops to near zero. Your limbic system looks at the math and decides that buying a $100 item on your phone right now is a far better investment than putting $100 into an index fund that you can't touch for 25 years. You are literally borrowing emotional peace from your future self, with a devastating interest rate. The avoidance loop and identity compounding every single time you avoid a critical financial or personal task to escape short-term discomfort, something dangerous happens in your brain. The exact moment you decide to close the spreadsheet and go wash the dishes or scroll social media instead, your brain releases a tiny drip of dopamine. Why? Because you successfully escaped a threat. This creates a highly addictive neurological loop. Feeling anxiety or dread leads to avoiding the task, which leads to dopamine relief, so the brain learns that avoiding equals safety. This is the avoidance loop. The more you avoid looking at your net worth, renegotiating your salary, or initiating that difficult conversation, the more your amygdala updates its threat assessment. It concludes, "Wow, we avoided that task again, and we felt so much better. That task must be incredibly dangerous. Next time, I will fight even harder to stop us from doing it." Over time, this loop begins to compound, much like interest, but in the wrong direction. It rewires your actual identity. Your brain keeps a flawless record of your behavior. If you constantly make promises to yourself and break them, your brain builds a cognitive belief system that says, "I am a procrastinator. I am bad with money. I am someone who starts things but never finishes them." Once that identity is locked in, your brain's filtering system, the reticular activating system, actively filters your reality to find evidence to prove that belief true, ignoring all your potential and focusing only on your failures. The strategy: the financial friction spread. To break this cycle, you must realize that you do not need more motivation. Motivation is a fair weather friend. It disappears the moment you are tired or stressed. Instead, you need to build a tolerance for short-term emotional friction. You need to train your brain to sit with discomfort without running away. The most effective tool for this is a friction sprint. Instead of waiting to feel ready or inspired to handle your finances or make a career leap, you make a conscious contract with yourself to accept the emotional friction as the literal price of entry. Here is how you execute a 15-minute friction sprint. Step 1. Isolate the micro-task. Do not say, "I am going to plan my entire retirement portfolio today." That is too massive and triggers immediate amygdala panic. Instead, say, "I am going to open my investment account portal and look at my current balance." Step 2. Set a hard boundary. Set a physical timer on your phone for exactly 15 minutes. Tell yourself that once the timer rings, you are allowed to close the laptop and walk away with zero guilt. Step 3. Name the emotion. As you sit down, call out the feeling. Say to yourself, "I am feeling financial anxiety and dread right now, and I am opening this document anyway." By naming the emotion, You move the activity from the reactive limbic system to the logical prefrontal cortex. Step 4. Refuse the dopamine pivot. During those 15 minutes, your brain will scream at you to check your email, grab a snack, or tidy your desk. Treat these as bad investment pitches. Recognize them, let them pass, and keep your eyes on the screen. When you complete a friction sprint, you're doing deep identity work. You're proving to your amygdala that emotional discomfort is not fatal. You survive. And with every sprint you complete, you cast a vote for your new identity, someone who does hard things to secure their future. Peace, clarity, and financial freedom do not show up before you take action. They are the dividends paid after you have the courage to start. Let's stop paying the invisible tax. Let's get to work.